Andrew Boswell, winner of this match, elimination rounds. That's where they're going. Loser not out of it yet, though. But the winner we will see later this evening as round number 14 to 15 is underway. Hunter Nance will begin with a Sandstep Citadel. Boswell will draw. Copy of Rakshasa Death Dealer. He'll play a Windswept Heath and pass the turn back over to Nance. Nance will take a draw step here. We'll see if it's something to play on turn number 2. And he does, though it's a 1-mana spell, it is a Thought Seize. So Boswell's hand of Siege Rhino, along with 2 copies of Rakshasa Death Dealer, Valor's Stance, and Fleece Main Lion. And last but certainly not least, the second land in Mana Confluence.
Not a bad hand here for Boswell. Can't really disrupt the curve very much because he has a 2-drop either way. And taking the removal spell leaves him with Siege Rhino, and taking the Siege Rhino leaves him with 2 very efficient creatures backed up by a removal spell.
Nance going to record the contents of the hand here. And then we'll decide exactly what he wants to take with him with this Thoughtseize. But now he knows what he's up against if he didn't before. And it is Boswell playing Obs on aggro. Very clear now. Oh, a tough decision. A lot of good options, and Siege Rhino going to bite the dust. Boswell going to draw a card. Scoop up that hand. We'll see what the second land's going to be, as his draw was a Plains for the turn. Boswell going to go with the Plains, sacrifice the Windswept Heath. You have to imagine for a forest to deploy a Fleece Main Line.
Looks like it. I would imagine that Boswell would like to find a non-mana confluence source of black mana before he tries to do too much with the Death Dealers. Though he may not know that Hunter is on an aggressive build of the deck.
Yep.
So far, Hunter's opening has all the looks of a mid-range deck, possibly even a 4-color deck.
There is Fleece Main Line. So that'll get the party started here for Boswell. Nance will draw. Just one card that adds such a new dimension to this matchup is Valor's Stance. There is a Death Dealer. And no third land here for Hunter. So Boswell will draw. There's the attack Fleece Main Line. Simple yet effective as Nance goes down to 15. Sandstep Citadel. That'll be the black source, but Boswell looks like he may have made an error there, perhaps. Not playing Mana Confluence in the Death Dealer.
Well, he gets to leave up the Valorous Stance this turn and be in a position where he gets to play the Death Dealer with 2 mana up. I'm not sure it's necessarily a mistake. His mana curve is a little clunky either way. That might be the turn where he's happy to just let it go.
Here's the attack. This is a Bile Blight. So bye-bye Fleece Main. But here comes Death Dealer. There's a Mana Confluence. Pass the turn back. Nance will draw. Still some mana issues here for Hunter, however. Draws a Siege Runner for the turn. You can see his hand. A lot of expensive spells. 2 copies of Anapheniza. At least 1 Hero's Downfall over there. But here's an attack. A little game of chicken here, perhaps.
Well, if he blocks, then Hunter may pump, and then Valorous Stance is incredible. But if he blocks and Hunter says, that's okay, then Boswell just has to trade, which is not what he's looking to do.
Yeah. So now just a copy of Rakshasa Death Dealer and a passing the turn there from Nance.
And Soldier of the Pantheon here picked up for Boswell. A great draw.
Yeah. Gotta like that one a lot. He'll send it with the Death Dealer now. No good blocks here from Nance, of course. So 2 damage will come across. Boswell will take the lead in the life total race. Now he's got another Death Dealer. And now he's got the big one in Soldier of the Pantheon. Protection from multicolored. Huge right now.
Demands a removal spell, and a removal spell here is Hunter's entire turn and leaves the Death Dealers untouched.
Looks as though Tasker was the draw there for Nance, so all he can do is pass the turn back over to Boswell. Boswell will draw another copy of Soldier of the Pantheon. Not bad. Again, what makes this so interesting is how is Boswell supposed to move forward?
Yeah, there's a big risk of Bile Blight here, but there's also a risk of waiting too long with a Soldier of Pantheon in your hand that doesn't age especially well.
Boswell ready to move to combat. And he will attack here with everybody. getting aggressive, putting the onus on his opponent. I like it.
I like it too. I mean, whatever damage Boswell can get in at this point is incredibly valuable. And I do like this double block from Hunter because he has a second Death Dealer in play already and he's stalling on lands. The second Death Dealer is not worth very much. And he can't really afford to just leave up mana for the entire game messing around with his Death Dealers. So whatever trade he can make here is very good.
So Death Dealers will trade. Some damage will be dealt. We'll see if Boswell wants to deploy another soldier or not, and he does not. Not comfortable doing that with Bile Blight being a card that Nance does have access to.
I can appreciate it, you know. I think that if Hunter does not use a Bile Blight this turn, that might be the sign for Boswell to deploy the second soldier. Now that he's drawn another one, I think he'll definitely deploy at least one after combat.
There's the attack. Damage will be dealt. Now Boswell can deploy some number of soldiers to the Pantheons. Maybe one, maybe two. Just one is what he's happy with. Nance will draw.
If he was willing to cast only the one last turn, then I think he should probably cast just the... If he was not willing to cast one last turn, I think he should cast only one.
Sure. Back to Boswell we go. As Nance is still having those mana issues, 15-9 in Boswell's favor. Red zone, it's a simple attack here. Those are unblockable. All Nance can do is shrug her shoulders and say, yeah, I'll take it. And now Boswell with 3 mana will play an Anafenza and simply pass the turn back. Nance will draw. And it's the mana issues that have doomed Hunter this game. That Temple is very late to the party, leaves that card on top, but you see his hand, it's very powerful with Tasigur and Courser and Siege Rhino. And there is Tasigur. But I don't think it's going to be powerful enough, as Boswell will untap and draw.
You know, Valorous Stance at the ready.
There's a land. Everybody into the red zone. Put the counter on the Death Dealer from Anafenza, and it's going to be a lethal attack. Andrew Boswell's going to win game number 1 here over Hunter Nance. Obs on aggro. Up a game here for Boswell. His take a little lower to the ground. Hunter's a little bit bigger. Oftentimes in aggressive mirrors, as you mentioned, being a little bit bigger and more robust normally gets the job done. We've seen that over the years, especially in Zoo mirrors, for example. But the mana issues causing the problem.
Exactly. It's not better to be a little bit bigger when you're stuck on 2 lands for the entirety of the game.
That is for sure. We'll take a look at the sideboards here, and we will start with Hunter Nance, which you have in front of you. What options does he have?
3 copies of Glare of Heresy, a Liliana Vess, an Elspeth Sun's Champion, Anissa Worldwigger, a Thoughtseize, a Bat-to-Major, a 4th copy of Bile Blight, 4 Drowning Sorrows, a Sorin Solemn Visitor, and a Murderous Cut. I like bringing in the 3 copies of Glare of Heresy, the Murderous Cut, the Elspeth Sun's Champion, the Bile Blight, and the Sorin. Some Planeswalkers, better blockers, good removal spells, that sort of stuff.
On the other side of things here for Boswell, 2 Hunt the Hunters, 2 Glare of Heresy, 3 Drowning Sorrow, an Utter End, a Murderous Cut, 4 Thoughtseizes, and 2 copies of Nissa Worldwaker. What do you feel about Hunt the Hunter and Glare of Heresy here?
I'm a fan. I think I'm a fan of both. I think they're going to come up often enough here that it's worth bringing them in. I think that the 1 copy of Utter End and the 1 copy of Murderous Cut's pretty good here as well. I don't think this is a Thoughtseize matchup. I think Boswell basically wants to play to the board, wants to kill stuff as it comes up. But Hunter's deck is probably redundant and interchangeable enough that there's not a lot to be gained by attacking his hand.
The addition of Soldier of the Pantheon, a pretty nice one to Boswell's deck.
Definitely was great that game. I mean, Hunter's got some draws here where Soldier of the Pantheon's going to look really bad. He has Courser Crufix in his deck, for example, Tasigur, a couple cards that line up very nicely against it. But that game, he was just on gold creatures, and Soldier of the Pantheon was very, very good.
Well, these players are going to shuffle up here for game number 2 in the Obs on Aggro mirror, but we will talk about the winter collection here for Star City Games. We've been rolling out a lot of creature collection stuff over the years. We did it with the squirrels last year. We're mixing it up a little here with 4 pretty cool creatures.
Yeah, the Mammoth, the very excited Fox, the somewhat forlorn-looking Rat, and the Eternal Witness. All here available on card sleeves, playmats, dice bags, StarCityGames.com/creature collection to order your stuff today.
You got a problem with the rat?
No, it just looks a little, I mean, maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but it just looks a little, not sad is too simple. It's a complicated face. I don't
Lost. It's like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone when he finds out the parents aren't home. That's what the look is.
It's the look of an existential crisis.
That seems a bit much.
Well, whatever. I'm telling you what I see.
Again, misinterpretation.
That's what's great about art. It's up to the person viewing it to interpret it.
That's true. And interpret it you did. Game number 2 going to be underway here between Boswell and Nance. Nance will be on the play, presumably. Or at least have the option. And if he's able to find some lands and spells, a little bit of difficulty finding that combination in game number 1, you have to like where he's positioned here. Just a little bit bigger than Boswell. Is able to make a card like Warden of the First Tree not terribly relevant and can go over the top of what Boswell's trying to do.
Exactly. I think that if Andrew finds his land drops and doesn't fall too far behind early on in the game, once we talk about both players at 4 mana, 5 mana, I think Hunter's deck is much better in the matchup.
Boswell able to run Nance out of game number 1. That's part of what playing aggressive decks can do. Definitely a big advantage there.
And you just have to wonder over the course of this tournament, how much has Andrew gotten from lands that come into play tapped, points of damage off of fetch lands, colored mana issues, people's removal not starting early on in the game. I'm sure, you know, the deck's got powerful cards in it, but I'm sure a lot of that 11-2 record has to go with those sort of factors from the other side of the table.
Oh, absolutely. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. Nance going to keep his opening hand, as will Boswell. Nance will start yet again with a Sandstep Citadel. Boswell going to draw a card. He's got a Citadel of his own. Nance with a Temple. We'll take a look at his top card. It'll become the bottom one as we head back Boswell's way. Boswell with a Warden of the First Tree as his draw step. And here's a Fleecemane Lion. So first to the board yet again here is Boswell. Wingmate rock the draw.
I think Warden of the First Tree does have some potential in this matchup to be, much like Fleecemane Lion is a low percentage of the time, just a random place in the curve where the top end of its activated power does come up.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're just happy to have a creature that's kind of good early and good late.
Yeah. But if there's a matchup where Warden of the First Tree has the potential to go all the way to the top, I think it might be this one.
And Offensa here for Nance. Boswell taking a long look at his hand. Would love to get that 4/4 off of the table if possible. Has an Abzan Charm to do so if he'd like, but this is where things get interesting, is how are you supposed to use your resources? Built to the board? Or am I supposed to take my entire turn to Abzan Charm that thing off of the table? Perhaps I'm supposed to save it for a Siege Rhino.
Yeah, I mean, it is his whole turn. He can kind of split the difference by attacking with Fleecemane Lion. If Hunter blocks, then he can use the charm to pump the Fleecemane Lion, which is better than just using the Abzan Charm straight up on Offensa. If Hunter elects not to block, well then Boswell can go ahead and just play his creatures post-combat.
Well, you saw a block very quickly from Nance, and Abzan Charm is going to take care of that and Offensa, making Fleecemane Lion into a 5/5. Nance will draw. Looks like a copy of Sorin. And he does have a copy of Glare of Heresy in hand to be able to take care of the Lion. And that's what he's going to do. Now, one thing that is big in the Abzan aggro mirror is Wingmate Rock. Fantastic card in the mirror match.
And in the beatdown, when you're playing against the beatdown deck, if you have any sort of board when you play, it's probably going to be good enough.
Yeah.
They have to just slog through it or cast multiple removal spells, and that's not very easy to do.
Nance will draw his card for the turn. There's a Windswept Teeth. He'll sacrifice that. Time for a Plains.
But the challenge of getting ready to go off in this matchup is tough for Hunter, because he's going to be on the back foot a lot. He's going to have to be the one blocking.
Hero's Downfall and Glare of Heresy at the ready here for Nance. Removal spells aplenty. There's a Glare. There's a Downfall. Get these creatures off the table. Happy to trade resources in this fashion as we head back Boswell's way. Soldier of the Panther in the draw here. However, this is kind of what you talked about, where Warden can play a much bigger role than normal here.
It's going to be a 3/3 by the time we get to Andrew's next turn. He'll probably have some mana left over to go to the second level, and then we're a land away from the top rope.
And Glare of Heresy won't get the job done. Hero's Downfall will, but it forces him to have it right away.
It's one of those things where, you know, if he has a removal spell, then whatever. And if he doesn't, he's just dead.
A Temple. Top card going to stay on top.
And now Hunter's in a bit of a bind here. He has Sorin in hand, which he can cast and probably just lose it to try to get a token into play to get to Wingmate Rock, but this is a slow plan. And he's going to lose Sorin as a result. And that War of the First Tree is getting close to going all the way up, which can overpower even a rated Wingmate Rock.
Yeah, that's the big deal. Sorin will tick down, so we'll have a Vampire token out here in just a moment. But in the meantime, Boswell is going to level up that Warden of the First Tree. It's a 3-3 now. Boswell will draw. Soldier of the Pantheon looks to be what he's found.
And I think Andrew is trying to find an attack that will induce a block from the Vampire token on the Soldier of the Pantheon, because he doesn't want to lose both of his soldiers to Bioblight. So there's some way he can make it attractive for Hunter to trade the token with the soldier while still killing Sorin. I think that's an attack that Andrew would really like to make. I don't know if that exists.
Yeah, me either.
But if he can find it, it's worth a lot to him. Because he can spend 4 mana going to level 2 with the Warden, cast the soldier, and then be a land away from going ultimate and not worry that much about Bioblight.
Well, Sorin's going to bite the dust. Predictably, no blocks there from Nance. Needs that Vampire token in the worst way. Boswell's just going to pass the turn back. Nance will draw. Time to attack. 2 damage is going to come across, and that means a rated Wingmate Rock is probably on its way. Yes, it is. Not 1, but 2 flyers. And this will be tough here for Boswell.
Though you know what can beat this thing?
Well, it's a Warden.
It's a Warden.
A Warden can get the job done. Now, there's Tasker. Now this game's getting real interesting.
Yeah. Because
those are 2 really, really big plays in one turn. And this, again, shows the power of Tasker delving 5 cards away. That's huge. That's absolutely huge.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to be Murderous Cut there for a second, which would be really, really tough on Boswell. This is not good, but this is still an opportunity for Warden to flex his muscles. I mean, it's basically been 3-3 for 3 mana spread across 2 turns so far this tournament. I don't think we've seen it at level 2 before, and we might be going all the way up.
Well, it takes 1 land. You see the 2 will represent level 2 here. Now it's a 3-3. Human Spirit Warrior with Trample and Lifelink, but it wants to become a little bit bigger than that. Boswell will draw. There is a Sansept Citadel. This is a Valorous Stance. That'll get Tassiger out of here.
I mean, this is kind of removal spell or bust right here for Hunter.
Yeah.
He'll have some turns after it to draw out, but I mean, Warden's going online next turn, and it's going to be hard for Hunter to race that.
And Hunter's taking a look now to see exactly what does this thing do? How big is it? The answer is a 3-3. A lot of text on that card. But at the end of the day, when it hits its ultimate, it is a huge creature, an 8/8 trampling lifelinker.
It's tough because Hunter has a play where he can hold back on defense and hope that Boswell won't attack. But at that point, he's susceptible to just removal spells. I mean,
yeah.
And now it looks like another SCG first. So many firsts this weekend.
For sure. I imagine Boswell will think things through a little bit here on if it's appropriate to activate the 3rd ability here on the Warden. What my opponent could possibly have, but be surprised if he didn't do it.
Well, the 3/3 trample lifelink is not worth very much right now against this 3/4. So Boswell's hand is forced.
Force it is. It's time for that to grow. 5 counters on top of it. Here it comes. It's a big hit for 8. And don't forget, that third ability you can activate multiple times, unlike Figure of Destiny. I suppose Figure of Destiny's third ability, you can activate it multiple times as you can kind of go up and down the Figure of Destiny chain, but there's really no reason to. With this, there actually is a reason.
Yeah, I was not aware of that subtle difference. And I think that Andrew's found a good use for 6 mana for the remainder of the game.
That's true. That's true. Let's see what Hunter's drawn. It's Anissa. And
all this stuff's okay, but
Yeah.
I mean, Ward of the First Tree is overpowering a lot of 5 mana plays.
So that'll become a 4/4. Well, that Llanowar waste.
I mean, next turn he pumps it to a 13-13, and Hunter only has 12 points of power in play, so we can't even block this thing next turn with the board he has.
So all he can do now is attack, gain a little bit of life from the Wingmate Rock trigger. But he's empty-handed.
Chump block the Trampler, never really a good spot to be in.
Not great, no. And Boswell has no reason to pivot until Hunter gives him one.
Exactly. I mean, even if Andrew draws Siege Rhinos and stuff, just keep pushing into the Warden here. If Hunter rips an answer, then you have some stuff in reserve.
Boswell going to draw. See his hand of Glare of Heresy and Soldier. Does beg the question if he knows the interaction with Warden, the fact that you can't activate the third ability multiple times. I think we'll find out pretty quickly.
Yep. I mean, in some respects, it doesn't really matter because Hunter has left enough back on, not enough on defense where Andrew's not attacking regardless, but the Boz is a studious man. I'd be surprised if this was something he was unaware of.
And, you know, last time we watched him play, too, he wasn't giving out free tickets to the gun show, but now he is.
Means business.
Yep. He knows what's on the line.
Well, you know, you give him the first one for free, and then you start charging.
Ah, yeah. That's how you hook him.
That's how you hook him.
It's like a mall food court.
Right.
He will activate yet again.
Yeah, this is lethal.
And I think maybe Hunter's learning this for the first time, that you can do that twice. Now, to be fair, Boswell might be attacking this, so we can get clarification on where the attack is going. But
I think the boss is killing him.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the boss is going upstairs, yeah. And Hunter's taking a look, and looks like he might be learning exactly how this card works for the first time. And it looks like that is going to get the job done here. Warden of the First Tree, a card that has been compared to Figure of Destiny quite a bit. It's not the same card, but it's still a pretty good one. Moving Andrew Boswell into the top 8 here with Abzan aggro. He wins this match over Hunter Nance 2-0.
I would argue that it was a lot better than Figure of Destiny would have been that game.
In that game, probably.
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, for sure. I think that Hunter easily beats a Figure of Destiny that game.
Yeah, the lifelink really playing a huge role there, and the ability to actually activate twice and just say, I'm doing this for the rest of the game until you stop me.
Yeah, it was very impressive, especially post board. A lot of these people, their number one sideboard card here is Glare of Heresy.
Yeah,
doesn't touch the Warden.
Now, of course, there are answers. Cards like Abzan Charm and Hero's Downfall. There are options available to get that thing off the table, but they have to have them.
Exactly. It's one of those cards where you just have to kind of weigh in the opportunity cost. If they have Bioblight or Hero's Downfall, yes, that's not good for you. But those cards line up very well against all of your creatures. So in the worst case scenario, it often just dies like anything else would. And in the best case scenario, it's so much more impactful than, a Death Dealer will be or a Fleecemane Lion will be. Those cards have different merits